I'm going to mute you so that it just picks me up. Hello, people. This is going to be, you're only going to get half an hour if you are on the replay of this. And the second half hour is just going to be the people who are actually in the room. So the second half hour includes music, and the first half hour is the warm up and the exercise for to get there. So this is probably the most exercisey class of all my classes. So we are going to work on some strength, mobility, agility, flexibility, lots of ilities. All right, we'll start standing up. We maybe even do the lymph in here, the lymph flush. Inhale, open, reach it out and up. And exhale, just feeling yourself in your body, feeling what it feels like to be you today. Inhale, open it up, and exhale, let it go. And again, inhale, stretch it out and up, open, and exhale, release. Inhale, filling up your lungs, opening your heart, reaching your chest up to the sky. And then exhale, bend your knees this time, drop your head all the way down. Once you get down, you can bend and just shift from side to side. So easy and loose. This doesn't have to be your biggest hamstring stretch yet. Just mobilizing your spine, tail to head, connecting from your tail to your head, letting the movement ripple through your spine. And then come into center, bent knees, roll it all the way up. And we're going to just change this slightly. We're going to inhale, lift, and then exhale, pretty active shake and bounce to let it go. And again, inhale, lift up and exhale, bounce and shake. So kind of an upregulating breath that we're inhaling, filling up, and then we're letting it out, shaking it out. And one more like that, inhale. Getting some energy moving through our body as we do this. Shake it all out. Let's do lymph really fast. So you're going to rub your hands together. I'm going to take my left hand to my right between my clavicle and my sternocleidomastoid up here, rubbing around. Just going to shut the doors to my room. And you can switch it to the other side, same thing. I'm kind of making like a little pancake flat area with my fingers and grabbing on. So it's going to grab my superficial fascia. And if I move a little bit underneath, like if I move my head, then I'm going to ensure that I am clearing up or moving around that lymph node road. And this is where the lymph is going to return into the bloodstream. In the subclavicular area, it's going to go back down, swirl around, and come back out. So we want to make sure that that's really clear. Then we're going to go up behind the angle of the jaw, relax your neck and tongue. I'm doing both hands. You could go like angle of the jaw and then all the way under here as well. Sometimes the things get stuck right under that bit. Relax inside. Just clearing out that area. Letting it go. Tongue, face, and then we're going to go to up here. This is the K27 points, circling around. You can circle in one direction and then go the other direction. So I've got my fingers in there and I'm circling. Then I'm going to change hands. So equal opportunity for the right and left sides of my body and brain, right? When my left hand has to do it, it's got to coordinate. And then I'm going to do a Thymus Thump, banging it out. And we can Tarzan around. Tarzan for everyone. And then we're going to go into our armpits. And we're going to, it's like I'm grabbing my pec and I'm just grabbing on and circling around, getting into my armpits. I'm also in my deltoid. I can also move my arm a little bit. So ensuring that whatever's happening up in that lymph node road, there's a lot of freedom. And then the same thing on the other side. Massaging in there. Hello, pec. Hello, armpit. Getting that tissue to be free and alive, and that whole vibrancy of the lymph being able to flow through us. Then we're going to go down here. Here's my xiphoid process. I'm actually going to do a clearing This is actually with my fingertips. I'm going to grab in right under my rib cage and slide down and out. So I'm like pulling. I'm going to do it on both sides. So on one side of that is my liver, and on the other side is my spleen. And spleen is very directly related, and liver both are directly related to detoxifying your body. So I'm giving them some space, just grabbing with my fingers and pulling down and out. This is actually a connective tissue therapy stroke where you don't want to push into yourself. It's like you're hooking and pulling with your fingertips. Yeah, creating some space. And we can think that like in there, we want our diaphragm and our liver to have really easy slidey surfaces so they're not all gummed up or stuck together. And I've done a cadaver dissection on a couple of different cadavers and seen where there has been adhesions in there. So we want freedom on those like rubber, it's almost like they're like wet balloons, and we want the freedom of them to be able to move against each other. So we have freedom in our diaphragm, freedom in our liver, freedom in our spleen, and even our stomach. And one time when people have like acid reflux, sometimes it's like we pulled up too much. We want to have descending. We want our GI tract to be something that's mostly going down and out. It's not coming back up, right? So sometimes when we think, especially like in systems like ballet, sometimes yoga, sometimes Pilates, we're pulling in and up. It's like, but we really need things to be going down and out. So it's not to say never pull in and up, but we want to have access to both of those possibilities. And especially for our gastrointestinal tract, that should be going one way. And if we're pulling up here too much, maybe it's easy to find a way to descend that. So we're going to come a little bit lower in between my belly button and my xiphoid process. Sternochyli, really biggest lymph node in the body, the really biggest. And I'm just going to dig in there. It's also kind of deep. So we want to think of that going deep into our body, also maybe letting some movement. So we're moving from the inside and the outside. And we're moving with our intention as well. The intention to clear up this detox pathway of lymph, when liver and spleen, all that stuff working together. And then I'm going to stand up. I'm just going to shake it out again, loose, easy. And I'm going to come into my inguinal folds. So groin area, between my pubic bone and my hip bone. So here's my ASIS, and here's my pubic bone. I'm going right in the middle, digging in there. Big lymph area. And then the last one right behind my knees, clearing that up as well. So we want to start here in this, when we're doing that lymph clearing, we want to start in here because that's where it's all coming back to. So if we like start clearing far away and bring it in, this is blocked, it's going to be weird. We want to clear up the close areas and then work our way out. Let's shake it all out. Shake, shake, shake. And then we're going to take it into a downward dog. So we can go all the way down into our downward dog. And I'm going to open my feet wider so they're at the edge of my sticky mat, and I'm going to bend my knees and stick out my butt. And then just easily circling around, wrist, ankle, ankle, wrist. So I'm not in my biggest hamstring stretch here. I'm just mobilizing my joints, right? So I'm warming up my muscles and joints a little bit before I go for any big stretching or anything like that. Circling around, mobility first. And change direction, mobilizing the other way. I'm also waking up the connection of my hands through my arms into my scapula, into my torso, into my heart, into my lungs. Then we can take this down onto the floor, walk your knees back, and the same thing. Reach your butt back in space and then towards the floor, circling around. Again, mobility, mobilizing the organs, mobilizing the joints, and change direction, mobilizing the hips and the spine. And then we're going to curl our toes back under, feet more closer together this time, like hip distance apart. Take it back to our downward dog. We're going to lift our heels really high, scoop the belly in, round the spine, roll it forward into a plank. Finding your plank, head reaching forward, heels pushing back, and then drop your head, push, roll it up to the ceiling, and lower your heels. Heels high, scoop your belly in, round your spine, roll it forward, push back with the heels, drop your head, push with your arms, roll it up to the ceiling, lower your heels. Heels high, rounding your spine, roll it forward, strong plank, and then drop your head, roll it up. Yeah, so you want to think really working through your spine. So like if we were dancing and we rolled up or down, it's the same kind of rolling through your spine to come into plank and then pushing head to tail up to the ceiling. So I lift, I scoop my belly in, I round my spine, I roll all the way forward, and then I lengthen out, push through my heels and my head. Then I drop my head, push with my arms, roll it up to the ceiling, and lower my heels. And then I'm going to come down onto my butt. And I'm going to work with some spiraling in my hands. So I'm working that pinky and thumb through my radius and ulna, through my humerus, into the rotator cuff, into my lungs, into my heart, into my diaphragm. Just finding that space. And I'm actually going to take my hands kind of back and then spiraling forward. So I'm going to spiral through the horizontal plane with my arms. Trying to think of letting my pecs and my lats, not my lats, my pecs and my deltoids really open up as my arm goes back. So this isn't putting a lot of stress in that socket. It's opening here in my chest and in my deltoids. Yeah. A lot of people tend to have overly tight in the front of the chest. We're going to do one more thing there. You're going to take your hands on your shoulders and then circle. And you can add kind of a cat-cow to this. So hollowing and curling, opening chest and lungs, looking up. Exhale and inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And then change it. Beautiful. Change direction up and over the top. That looks great. Exhale. Inhale. Using your breath. Movement in the spine as well as this really basic movement in the rotator cuff. When our hands are on our shoulders, it's much safer for that joint, so we're not putting too much action on it. Let's take it down to the floor and just knee drop from side to side. Relaxing your back. You can turn your head away from your legs. And I like to do these knee drops different. This isn't a Bartenia fundamental knee drop. I'm doing like a open and then close so that I'm really massaging out my glutes and my sacrum, especially like my sacroiliac. As I roll from side to side, I'm getting this massage across the sacroiliac. I can stay on one side and kind of do a rock on my butt there so that I'm giving some shear to my glutes and my rotators. So it's not just rolling through, but there's some shear force on that muscle, so it moves it slightly differently on the muscle and fascia. Also allowing like this whole fluidity through my torso. And then shift it to the other side and try the same thing. So it's almost like a Bartenia heel rock, but on your butt. And you can think of it as just the whole plan is to become really fluid and let your piriformis, your rotators, and your sacroiliac just get a little bit more easy, more integrated in the sense of having more fluidity and aliveness. And then coming onto your back, hands on your knees and big circles with your knees. And change direction the other way, letting your spine have some free flow as you're circling. So you're just doing this. This is, again, really a mobility exercise. This isn't about getting your biggest stretch or working your muscles really hard. It's about mobilizing the joints and letting all the fascia of the leg coming into the joint, the leg, the abdominals, the lower back. It's getting a little bit of movement. So hydrating up that tissue, and you're also getting to roll across your sacrum. Let's take a tiny little sacrum rock here. So it's like a Bartenia fundamentals heel rock, which would be this. sending a ripple of movement up and down through your body, but I'm doing it here where I can really push and pull with my feet. And when I say really push and pull, I'm very relaxed. I'm using as little effort as possible. So I'm sending this rhythm through my sacrum, through my spine, and I'm trying to relax my head, neck, and shoulders at the same time. Again, working the mobility of the spine by hydrating all the little intrinsic tissues and muscles and freeing up the organs in the front of the body. All right. I said this was going to be the most exercisey class, and it's actually turning not into being the most exercisey class. But I feel like because of who I've got in my Zoom room, this makes more sense. And I see what she's doing, so I'm going to do this. We're going to cross one leg over, and we're just going to take that into a knee drop, spiraling, massaging out your hips and your back. So again, we're mobilizing and softening as much as possible in this roll, letting it go one way and then the other, as effortless as possible. Non-grasping work, make it easy. And then when you're ready, switch it to the other side. Same thing, just massaging through that hip as you roll across. Taking the tension out of the body and hydrating tissue. So one of the things that I learned really from Liz Koch, and then it's come into my own experience, is that we're all going to age, but we don't have to get dehydrated. We can keep hydrating our fascia. We can keep hydrating our tissue. We can stay much healthier if we continue to move and get our body doing stuff. Taking our hands down by our sides, we're going to go with big circles with the legs. So these can be as big or as small as feels good to you. So more work. I'm going to flex as I open out and then point. Legs are coming up pointed. I flex and open, reach it down and out. Up and open, going in a range of motion that feels good to you in your body. If you want to make this harder and get more exciting, you can let your butt come up off the floor. But that's really up to you. Using your breath, finding a rhythm of the movement and the breath that makes sense in your body. 2 more. Last one. And then just shake it all out. Really inviting in the free flow with that shake. Free up your spine, head, neck, arms, legs. And we're going to go with an internal rotation. So feet are open very wide as your sticky mat, and you're going to internally rotate one leg at a time. So again, we're mobilizing the fascia, which the fascia is actually the holding pattern of the muscle. Like if we think of a grapefruit, all the little beads, of sort of water, the inside would be what the muscle is. The little holding part, that's fascia. That's what our fascia is like also. All the white stuff, like in a grapefruit or an orange, that's the fascia. Like we have the skin of the orange, and then right underneath that really thick white layer, that would be like our superficial fascia. And then it moves through and holds the form of the orange or the fruit. We are the same, it's the same thing with us. It looks a lot like that. I remember telling one of my classes at Manhattan School of Music of kids, teenage kids. I'm like, we have much more in common with a grapefruit than a machine. They scoffed at me. They were like, you stupid idiot, you know nothing. But it's actually true. Our body is alive, it's living tissue, it's fluid filled, and it has the capacity to adjust and change in relationship to what we demand of it. So if we don't demand much, our fascia can become very disorganized, like felt. But if we do move a lot in very three-dimensional ways, we start to organize the fascia so that it's like this internal system of biotensegrity that is allowing us to move. So we want to stay in relationship with that. Let's take our legs up off the floor, dropping it from side to side. I feel like with those kids, I don't think I explained it clearly enough to them. They knew far better than I did, for sure. Anyway, it's funny. You better have something to back it up when you're going to tell kids anything. And because I didn't have I'm teaching dance in a basement studio, there's no I don't have a PowerPoint to show them what I'm talking about. Presentation. And bring it in, shake it out, let it go. Let's take our legs down, hands by your side. You're going to inhale pelvis up and just make circles with your hips. So warming up the back of the body, and again, circling, mobilizing the joints, femur head into that ball and socket joint. You're also mobilizing your spine. Working as easily as possible. So we're not driving the car with the brakes on. We're doing what makes the most sense, what's necessary. Change direction, other way. Circling around. Yeah, and just look straight up so that you're not turning your head on that. There you go. And then bring it into center. Take it down. We're just going to have a break for 1 second. Straighten your legs. We'll go with big circles with our arms. So your feet are flexed. Let me just readjust my camera. There we go. Feet are flexed. You're reaching out through the soles of your feet, and you're going to make big circles with your arms. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhale as your arms open up. Exhale as you come up. You can just come a quarter of the way off the floor. Doesn't have to be a huge lift. And then change direction with the arms. Arms are circling up and then looking down towards your feet. Inhale, open. Exhale, closed. Inhale, open. Exhale. Inhale, open. Exhale. Let's take this out into the shape of an X. So we're in the shape of an X, like we're in a door frame touching the four corners of the door. So our X is going to be slightly longer than it is wide. From there, we're just going to take elbow to knee crossing up and then slide it back out into your X. Exhale up, inhale open. So we're working contralateral movement. Exhale up and then slide, find that diagonal. Exhale up, reach it out. Exhale up, reach it out. Exhale up, reach it out. One more. You could leave your head on the floor for that too. Sometimes I do. But I want to say one more thing about this exercise. So it's contralateral movement. We're working cross body. That's the most sort of advanced for our nervous system, or advanced natural normal human movement, whether this is natural or normal. When we do that contralateral patterning, we're working our nervous system in a certain way, very healthy for humans. But what I want to say is that we have one diagonal that's on the floor, and then we have one diagonal that's curling up, and then it becomes the long diagonal, and we're curling the other one. So what I want you to think about this time is think about the long arm and leg that aren't curling up, and they're really stabilizing as the other diagonal of your body is mobilizing. So feeling the stability of one diagonal while you're mobilizing another diagonal. And finding that energy from the upper to the lower crossing through your body. Last one. And let's bring it in. Take your arms back down. Feet are going to go slightly wider than your shoulders, so I can touch my heels. They're parallel. Yeah, nice. That looks good. And we're going to press up. From here, you're going to, if it's possible, interlace your hands behind your butt, walk your shoulders closer together. You're going to inhale, knees open wide, and then exhale, knees closed. So I'm rolling to the outer edge of my foot, and then I'm rolling to the inner edge of my foot. I'm pushing the floor away with my legs, so the back of my body is working, and the front of my body is kind of opening up, using the breath. Inhale, open, and I'm getting that nice spiral, very three-dimensional work in the tissues of my leg and my glutes, that nice internal wrapping, and then external. So really three-dimensional movement through my legs. Two more. Use your breath. Last one. And then open your shoulders, open your hands, roll it down through your spine, vertebra by vertebra. And let's come into a happy baby from here. So in your happy baby, let yourself just play around in the baby. Do whatever you got to do. Listen into your own body. Yeah, one of my hamstrings, my right hamstring is really like It's talking to me today. We did some stuff on the pole yesterday where I was just hanging by that one hamstring, and like it's fine some of the time, but then it's like, whoa, this is a lot of work. So I can feel that. So I want to tuck back into my tissue and my hamstring and be like, you're okay, it's okay. Hydrate, reassess, reassemble. You're just growing, getting stronger, right? So I have a nice conversation with myself. Not a, oh my God, why did I do that? That was so stupid or whatever. Sometimes we come onto ourselves in a really hard way. But I'm like, I know exactly. I could feel it working. It's like, oh my God. So, oh yes, little muscle and fascia and leg, you're growing, you're learning, you're developing. Shake it all out. Yes, I'm a weirdo. Let's go with one leg at a time since we're in that hamstring stretch. One in, one out, breathing into it. And since we did the pelvis up, we really warmed up our hamstrings in that three-dimensional way. Now we can start to stretch them out. If you want, you can flex and point and then change. Flex and point and change. If you also want, you can drop your head to the floor here. So really work with what feels good in your body. If I hold my head up for a long time here, it becomes too much. And down here, like opening my chest and lungs, letting my collarbones widen, that feels really good. Last one. Shake it all out. And let's roll over onto our sides. So we're going to do a battement a la seconde, kicking up to the side. Legs are straight down. We're just going to flex up and point down. Side kick. That's it. Going 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm thinking of bringing my knee to my shoulder. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to take our legs slightly in front. So we're going to get into that Pilates pike. I'm going to drop my arm down underneath and I'm going to reach forward and back. And I'm going to let this really move through my body. So in Pilates, you would really stabilize your body. But most people, in my opinion, are way too stable and not mobile enough. So we're working this contralateral pattern again. Yeah, arm is going to go in the opposition away from your leg. It can either go over your head or you could also do it down here. And if you want to be really insane, you could go for a full circle with that. I'm making it up as I go along. And it can go the other way too, circling. So you could arm circle as you're working the leg or not. Make it easy if you need to. Just here. All these possibilities of movement. Good, relax. And let's roll it over to the other side. So, or flip it around, however you need to. We're going to start with the kicks up, side battements, and then we're going to go with that forward, backward. So for the battements, my legs are straight underneath me. I'm going to flex up and point down. And I'm trying to maintain that external rotation as I come down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm actually inhaling up and exhaling down because for me, the hardest part of this is to maintain the external rotation as I go down. Often we want to be on the exhale when we're on the effort. Last one. And then Pilates pike, 2 legs a few inches in front of you. I've got to let my diaphragm relax for a second. I get very excited when I'm teaching sometimes, and then I get the hiccups. So like, okay, calm down. All right, so leg in front or behind, arm working in opposition, letting that whole upper quadrant of your body move. You can circle the arm in either direction. Just feeling what that is. Nice gradated rotation through the rotator cuff so that your arm is not doing a huge flip at some point. Change direction with the circles if you want to, or carry on as is. Last one. And relax and take it onto your back. And from here, we're going to roll from side to side, opening and closing. So I'm going to fold into one side, and I'm going to open through the middle and fold into the other side. Opening it up, folding it in. Nice. Letting my arms and legs unfold and fold together. So there's a little coordination of upper versus lower and right versus left. And I'm trying to really stay as relaxed in my shoulders, neck, and head as I possibly can. So I'm pouring myself across the floor one way and then the other way. Ha. And then slowing it down, coming into center. I just want to talk about this for a couple of minutes. One thing is so when I was growing up, I ended up having a lot of pain in my lower back. And then once I got into the continuum work, I started to learn how to really release that by fluid movement in my belly, in my guts, fluid movement through my torso, head, tail. And so I could really release whatever was going on in my lower back. But I always still had a lot of tension in my shoulders. So that's been the past couple of years, I've been learning how to really release that. Often it's the same fluid movement, but another way is just to really slowly roll, keeping my head as relaxed as possible from one side to the other, just taking my time. And right now, this is actually fast compared to how fast I would let it happen. But letting my fascia and the fluid in my body just renegotiate what's going on in my back and neck. Yeah, let's do that for a few breaths. Relax your jaw, relax your neck, relax your tongue. Dropping into the floor, thinking of allowing your body to yield into the floor, like you're spreading your body like some butter on a piece of warm toast, and it's just melting. You can add sound to that if that feels good. Yeah, and then let's bring that around. So I recommend spending 20 minutes, half an hour just doing that. So if you want to soften that up. But I will add that there was one other thing that really released my upper traps, and that was actually doing shoulder mounts on the pole. So I mean, it was so much, you're on the pole, so it softened up that tissue. A really good massage therapist could probably do the same thing that the shoulder mounting did for me. Just throwing that out there. All right, let's take it onto our bellies. Onto your belly, on your mat. And we're going to start with, like the heel rock, just push, pull. Feeling the connection of, now you're going to feel your pecs and lats as your arms connect into your body with this push, pull. And then we're going to drop our head, look down towards your pubic bone, and then drop your pelvis, roll it back up through your spine, lift and open. Head drops down, roll it down through your spine, and then pelvis drops and it rolls back. Head drops down, rolling down, looking underneath, and then roll it up. Look up, lift your legs. Head drops, roll it down, pelvis drops, roll it up. Couple more times. So this is very much an upper versus lower pattern. Last one. And then you can take it down, head on your hands, curl your toes under, and just push up and down. In that push, relax your body as much as you can. So soft, fluid, easy body, melting and letting go. And then you're going to bend your knees and let your legs fall from side to side. Loose and relaxed, like you're wagging a big bushy tail, big bushy fox tail, happy dogs, happy foxes. I have to say with my cats, they don't really wag their tails when they're happy. They seem to wag their tails when they're kind of excited or agitated. So your tail wag may have different meaning than mine. Let's take the arms and legs up off the floor and just paddle away, regular Pilates swimming. Big pumping breath. Deep diaphragmatic breathing. Lift the whole thing up, radiate away from center, float it around like you're flying, and then take your hands next to your chest, arch the whole way up, and take your tail back. Easy and relaxed child's pose. Melt into it, wiggle around, soften your inner body, free up your breath, free up your spine, surrender and let go. Let's do one more thing here. We're just going to flip the hands so the palms are up, and you're going to lift your head, and you're going to kind of almost pull. It's like you're retracting your arms back, so you're drawing them in and kind of pushing into the floor. So we get this this different spiral on our arms. And then you can relax and melt. Spiral out, pull your arms in. Think of your chest going forward and through. So I'm using the floor for resistance. And then soften and melt. And one more spiral the hands and pull along the floor. And release. Shift your weight back towards your heels and come all the way up. Yeah, so just that kind of mobility, especially for women, because women often have less upper body strength and less of a relationship into this rotator cuff with like doing things, except for stuff that's down here, right? We want to have this relationship where our arms have more capacity to do things. Yeah. So, so let's put this stuff away, and we're going to come up to standing. Everybody in TV land, do whatever you got to do. Dance around the room with some music. I am going to stop recording.